Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. I'm Kyle DeCoy, and I'm the executive director here at the Poetry Project. And we are so pleased to have you with us tonight for Wigs Near Me, a new performance by Wayne Koestenbaum. In a recent article for Freeze, Brian Dillon writes, quote, "Some of the most adventurous writing of the past decade has either shared a great deal with Koestenbaum's work or been directly influenced by it." And so we feel it's both auspicious and triumphant that Wayne Koestenbaum is the last reader of this particular decade at the Poetry Project. Poet, critic, artist, performer, he has published 19 books, including Camp Marmalade, Notes on Glaze, the Pink Trance Notebooks, My 1980s and Other Essays, Hotel Theory, best-selling Jewish porn films, Andy Warhol, Humiliation, Jackie Under My Skin, and The Queen's Throat. His next book, a collection of essays, Figure It Out, will be published by Soft Skull in May 2020. He has exhibited his paintings and solo shows at White Columns, 336 Mission, and the University of Kentucky Art Museum. His first piano vocal record, Lounge Act, was released by Ugly Duckling Presse Records in 2017, and he has given musical performances at the Kitchen, REDCAT, Centre Pompidou, the Walker Arts Center, the Artists Institute, and the Renaissance Society. He is a distinguished professor of English, Comparative Literature, and French at the CUNY Graduate Center in New York City. Tonight's performance will include video, followed by Wayne delivering a Sprechstimme performance at the piano, and then a musical Q&A. And before we begin, I just want to ask you to please silence your cell phones for the full effect. And with that, we're going to begin with a video piece.
Eros and Civilization.
This isn't a sexuality library.
I feel we've met before, in a pot-smoking context.
In library school, I used to smoke pot with my roommate. He was obsessed with zoology. Perhaps you're his child?
Did you wear wigs in library school?
Wigs were near me, but I rebuffed their approach. Serious wig wearing began after I buried my uncle.
My wig wearing began when my mother, a contralto famous for her Delilah, whipped me for not understanding the Dewey Decimal System.
Our music and punishment books are in the library's renovated annex. May I lead you there? You'll need to wear a mask.
Behavior-wise, you give me the impression of being out of control. Or is that an illusion fostered by the acoustics in this library?
Indeed, the air raid siren has begun its chromatic ascent. Time to evacuate.
I looked you up on the internet. A website told me that you'd forfeited your librarian's license years ago. The charges included bigamy.
Here, I found a copy of Eros and Civilization. It had been wrongly shelved under French literature.
My mother wanted to bear Herbert Marcuse's child.
I've called an ambulance for you.
We're both victims of the inability to process horror.
I shelve it, I deaccession it, I shred it, I ban it, I fine it, I photocopy it, I digitize it, I destroy it.
I feel my body tingle all over. From your verbs, and from your gaze, and from the erotic scenarios that seem buried in your ever-changing wig.
You're near me, small library patron without remorse or volition. You're near me as wigs have been near me as succubi and muses all my life.
I told the ambulance driver that he'd come to the wrong library. And so now I'm free to stay here forever with you in the political science section.
I lost my virginity in a seaside flat. Herbert Marcuse was my first lover. We ate clam rolls afterward at a seaside restaurant called The Skipper. I spilled tartar sauce down his shirt. I licked the tartar sauce off his skin. In public, at The Skipper. That's how I got my start.
I wish I had a tub of tartar sauce here with me. I could spill it down your shirt, and we could forget about books and codes and catastrophes. No more nuclear winter, just endless noon, time stopped, me licking tartar sauce from your skin, as if you were the dialectic itself.
It's time to begin the performance. Here are your props.
Near me, the tartar sauce and your eagerness to lick it off.
We'll destroy each other, then wake up in the morning and find a new dumbwaiter. In its mouth, we'll hurl our overdue books. The dumbwaiter, like a thresher, will convert our books back into the eros the books secretly wanted to be.
Let's take a break now and go to the library cafe.
They serve clam rolls.
I'm allergic to seafood. I'll marry you.
On our honeymoon, we'll go to the Herbert Marcuse Clam Shack and eat our fill. The morning will find us sated, you on French fries, me on clam rolls.
I'm taking off my clothes now, despite the rules.
Near me, your lawlessness.
I've already swallowed the poison I warned you about, the poison you've provided.
I've swallowed my portion, too.
Near me are synchronized deaths.
Near me, the beach where Herbert Marcuse, or my fantasy version of him, destroyed my ability to maintain a sane relation to the book-like objects surrounding us in the phenomenal world.
Near me, the Weltanschauung you French kissed.
We can sit down now. The movie is almost over.
I've never stopped sitting down.
Although you seem now to be standing up.
That's the way I sit down.
By simulating a condition of uprightness?
By simulating a wish to fall in love with you and then destroy you in my own subtle fashion, which involves checking out a book by Herbert Marcuse.
You can sit down now. Sit down in the old-fashioned sense. Bend your knees and put your ass on the floor or on a chair.
Near me, your ass.
My ass is indeed useful to me when I need to sit down.
Near me, my ass and your ass, each equally near. My ass not nearer to me than your ass.
Near me, our simultaneity of ass. Near me, our cleft heft.
I hear the air raid siren again.
That's not an air raid siren. That's your mother or your father calling you back home after a day's disobedient wandering.
Mother and father, in this context, are eros and civilization?
No, mother and father are whatever you want them to be. Mother and father could be my buttocks.
Near me, the run-of-the-mill genitals you hypothesize and ignore.
Here's a pair of scissors. Cut your hair. Cut your wig. Make it more like the wig a pornographic player might have worn in 1945 if he or she were wishing to resemble Sonia Henney or a male version of Sonia Henney, or some non-binary Sonia Henney look-alike with a sideline as porn actor.
Near me, Sonia Henney. Near me, this pair of scissors I can't comprehend.
Nor can you comprehend or solve or satisfy my desire for you.
A desire not librarian-like, a desire exceeding the reach of the printed word.
Don't stigmatize librarians.
Near me, your fear of stigma.
Near me, your zoology-loving father, who, when we were in college together, showed me how certain extinct species fornicated in ways never mentioned in religious texts.
Never, 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 never.
Never what?
Near me, the unspecifiable never.
Near me, your never. Never to be more
Never
near
to be
you than
more
when
near
I
me
am
when
not
you are not near.
near.
Is this on? Yeah, now it is. Unfortunately, I have to appear in the flesh, but I'll try to make light of that. So many people. Is this as bright as the lights get behind me? I mean, so in this red binder, I have, first I gotta turn on my notifier, because I don't want this to go on longer than a specified amount of time, because performance is durational and should be limited. So, in this binder, I have words, not music. I want a sample at the piano from 3 book projects. The music issues forth as accompaniment accidentally. So the first project is a prose book about synchronicity. And here's how it goes. I skipped a lecture I'd promised the lecturer I'd attend. Instead, I went to the wig shop to buy a green wig. On my way to the wig shop, I saw a famous novelist who was not yet a famous novelist or even a novelist when we were friends over 20 years ago. His most peculiar trait in those early days was his dislike of raw tomatoes. We'd meet for a pizza, and I'd want sliced raw tomatoes on the pie, but he was disgusted. He was disgusted by raw tomatoes, so we'd compromise and order a pizza with raw tomatoes on one half and cooked tomatoes on the other half. A pizza with cooked tomatoes is called a margarita. A pizza with raw tomatoes is called a caprese. These names have no theoretical weight, no bearing on the moral of the story. On my way to the wig shop, I saw the famous raw tomato-fearing novelist. Our eyes met, and he seemed not to recognize me, nor did I at first recognize him. He was carrying a large suitcase. I suspected that he'd come to town to supervise the casting of a major motion picture based on one of his novels. I recognized him only when we were no longer looking at each other and I had left him behind as I was entering the wig shop. Only upon entering the wig shop did I fully realize that the man with an impassive, thick, and still handsome, clean-shaven face was my friend from 20 years ago, now a famous novelist. In the wig shop, I tried on a pink wig and a blue wig in one style, and a green wig in another style. I chose the green wig. Its style is a cross between Pixie Gamine and Herman's Hermits. I also bought at the wig shop an eyebrow pencil. Skipping a lecture, seeing a novelist who was once upon a time my friend, and buying a green wig and eyebrow pencil are the three events that followed a night in which I dreamt that I sat near Jackie Onassis in an Upper East Side restaurant. In my dream, Jackie Onassis overheard me talking about a book, or I overheard her talking about a book. In real life, not the dream I discovered the day before this dream, that a literary publicist I'd long ago known had died, age 52. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. In 1994, he'd secured my sneaky admission to a cocktail party at the Asia Society, a party to celebrate a book that Onassis had edited. The publicist whose death was announced yesterday. Russell Perot, an oratic name, a fairy tale name. The moment I met Russell, I loved him because of his composed face and what I remember as his physical smallness, akin to mine. Can the effect of synchronicity be merely pointed to, or must each instance of synchronicity be explained? Each filament of intersecting incident be narrated so that the outsider, you listener, can understand the lightning flash of synchronicity landing on my consciousness. Or can synchronicity simply be arrayed, stacked, feathered in a feuille style, feuilleton, lost leaves, casual arrangements. Am I the victim of this casualness, this dependence on the arrayed and the aleatory? Or am I, and therefore you, listener, the beneficiary of the aleatory's gift, the accidental's bequest, the largesse of the merely arrayed? I love attesting to my identity as the victim or recipient of stray synchronicities. I wax elegiac about the nuances I haven't the patience or the power to etch more exquisitely in your doubtless tolerant brain. I can't delineate these nuances. I can't delineate these nuances in a matter adequate to the rhythm. A staggered arrival, dotted quarter notes, syncopated. Two against three, in which the information, the accidents hit me. Let me remain without being impugned as an unreliable and therefore detestable messenger, affixed to my identity as a victim or recipient of magical thinking, a style of cognition and elucidation that arrives in bursts and with the jagged arbitrariness of a Tom and Jerry cartoon that a nervous or crazy projectionist projects on top of La Dolce Vita because the projectionist wants to destroy or defile the occasion. Okay, now from Project 2. It's either called Ultramarine or More Kink per Square Inch, please. If I want to go for the long title, I'll call it Ultramarine : Ultramarine : or comma More Kink per Square Inch, please. If you have a strong preference, let me know at the after party. So this is this book, the sequel to Camp Marmalade. And I'm going to read you little bits from it. Bradley Cooper's uterine incapacity. Bradley reads the notebook and laughs alive in a part of the world not belonging to me. Star of David in chest hair, asleep on downtown F train. Realism hurts Eric. Realism interrupts Eric. Realism saddens Eric's mother. Anyone who mispronounces frisson had better not lord it over me in any other department. More kink per square inch, please. Do I have a queer ethic? Yes, I have a queer ethic. Yes, I have a queer ethic. I'd marry Cary Grant if I were Diane Cannon. But I'm not Diane Cannon. I'm not Diane. I'm not Diane. I'm not Diane. I'm not Diane. I'd marry Cary Grant if I were Diane Cannon. Maybe ultramarine is again the solution. Solution to what? Ultramarine as base and superstructure. Return and embarkation. Nothing wrong with ultramarine. I thrived on ultramarine. Why did I turn my back on stalwart ultramarines, obscuring and consoling ground? Why? It's good not to have sequestered myself in devotion to ultramarine, despite its call to my worse or better nature. If any beings have natures rather than notations. Peter Hujar's lover called me a sissy intellectual, a dying breed. To think and sing, Clytemnestra invents invisible schnapps, viscous in a mouth, neutral enough to leave unmodified the rancorous nectar. Bromance, that's bromance. Bromance on toast with side of sister potatoes. Conceptual restaurant, psyche as luncheonette. I dreamt I told my Aunt Alice that Anne Frank had an affair with Heidegger, and that Anne Frank was pregnant with Heidegger's child. It's a dream. In train, reading Max Jacob without looking upwards, because I want immersion in I don't know what, plus surreptitious erotic contact. posing as an ingenue when I'm not an ingenue, and have never been an ingenue, trying to take a selfie that makes me look like an ingenue, or at least like a beefy Jewish novelist with some erotic credibility, a suburban Jewish novelist with a stud track record. Examine the perineum horizon to see if this does add up to the three wise men. Kaleidoscope, I anticipate. Lube up language for kitchenette. Dream. Intimate with Liza Minnelli. She appeared nude in a one-woman show. Nudity was accidental. She flashed her crotch, but it had a lump, which suggested, I'm afraid to say, a penis clump. She came into the audience, sat beside me. I was honored. Then later she had no memory of sitting beside me, but hugged me, wanted to be physically intimate, sent me to Judy's room. Liza faulted me for not following through on the embrace. I observed a scholar jogging or crawling, blindfolded upstairs. Tranquilized bachelors in Paradise Grotto, querying my father's candy. Liza in dream lies on stage. Later she leads me to Judy's posthumous bedroom. Smells like a library or a printing press. I am logopoeia, and she is melopoeia, but I want to be melopoeia. Why can't I be logopoeia and melopoeia at the same time? I am always querying my father's candy, always spitting out my father's candy. Mentioning Marilyn Monroe addictively because I am Homeric, a repeater of pattern stories that alter slightly with each iteration. Homer, the entrepreneur of mayonnaise, has storied San Francisco sunset briefs, auguring homo argosy. Yeah, homo argosy. Is sameness ameliorative, I asked? Does the fact that forms repeat in nature, triangles increase the amount of good in the universe? I kissed the apple cake. It's a clairvoyant, wise person cake, deserving kiss tribute. Dreamt Queen Elizabeth. Gave up the crown so Prince Charles could eat cheddar garlic fries. Dreamt someone pointed out a photo poem wherein Marianne Moore had lined up Rieslings in a wine store, a Bacchic stanzaic ideogram. Neurological has 5 syllables, like Hamantashen has 4 syllables, like obviate has 3, like justice has 2. Neurological has 5 syllables. And now on to the third project. A little sip of water. So I've been writing these engorged sonnets. They're 14 lines, but each line has a tendency to swell and go beyond itself, but they're still 14 lines, and they don't rhyme. So there's really nothing in it that is sonnet-like, except my intention to contain my daily experience in that snug container that we all love. We love any container, basically, but it's nice. I mean, there are some containers we don't want. As usual, my generalizations will get me in trouble if I just keep saying things like, this is that, always, to cur, to cour. So I can't say that, but I can say that I think experience is very messy, and I love subdividing it into little modules, drams, monads, whatever you want to call them, stanzas, sentences, paragraphs, weeks, years, relationships. So for a few months, I thought it was very fun to arrange my experience into sonnets. So here's just a few pieces from them. Older I get, the more serious I become about wearing makeup and wig. I'm glad you gave up the figure, she said, but I haven't stopped pursuing nudes. To be the dread golem, aloof in Prague, boning up on feuilletonisme, eaten peacoat toggles, unclasping gelt Jocasta, eaten peacoat toggles, unclasping gelt Jocasta. Her henna'd frulings knocked hospice hair, a bon ami scouring to undo Napoli hostel boy teen flip-flop shuffle. Coveting your metallic sneakers, svelte, flood-trousered puck, outpacing my origins of totalitarianism, lech amble. Stanley Tucci look-alike veer away from me, IV not finding its vein. Noli me tangere, anti-Semitism's mule gate, a tapioca bubble, all gum. Richard Taubers, daffodils frost scarred, daffodils frost seared, gleapt ermordet, stars and stripes, grave kilt montage. Stars and stripes, grave kilt. Montage, montage, montage. So those are the sonnets. I'm going to have another little sip, and then I'm going to end with a few revisitations of Wigs Near Me, which is how I dragged you all here, probably thinking, I'll just stand there for a second. I did buy that wig, and I really did buy it right before I saw that famous novelist who wrote a comic novel about a sex offender. I decided not to intone that line, thinking it would be off color or distract from the mournful tone I was trying to strike. Which, if you get this is a very elegiac program. It's not a joke. I think you get that. I hope you get it. I want to say that I feel like I dragged you here because you thought maybe I'd wear a wig, or you thought this would be the more extreme form of melting, like career deliquescence that you were waiting for, which maybe it is actually, but I'm keeping a limit to it. You know, there's some like, there's a little Schubert and Schumann floating their dirty way through the grave kilt montage. But I wanted to say that nearness, I am writing this book about synchronicity and the whole, maybe if there is a point to this weird practice, it has to do with putting things next to each other that don't quite belong. Of course, words and music belong. They belong together for a long time, but maybe they don't belong together when I do them. Or maybe they don't belong together within the life that I've chosen. And so then the question becomes, well, why not, put them together? Because I feel happier with the piano when I have words near me, and I feel happier with words when I have music near me, or my kind of music. So wigs, so I guess the point of Wigs Near Me was I wanted to buy a wig, so I Googled wigs, and it said Wigs Near Me, and I found the nearest wig shop, and I thought, that's a great title, Wigs Near Me. But then, of course, nearness is the subject. Nearness, synchronicity, adjacency, the aleatory, accident. The Poetry Project is a great supporter of accidents, truly, and of improvisation. I remember hearing the great David Anton, who's such a role model for me in everything I hope to do, give one of his improvisatory lectures here. So that is the legacy that I feel is honored here, and that it's great to do my shtick here. So I'm gonna end with a little Wigs thinking, and then I will take questions. The water's become part of it. So, I lost my virginity in a seaside flat. Herbert Marcuse was my first lover. We ate clam rolls afterward. At a restaurant called The Skipper. I spilled tartar sauce down his shirt by accident. I licked the tartar sauce off his skin in public. That's how I got my start. I wish I had a tub of tartar sauce here with me. I could spill it down your shirt, and we could forget about books, about codes, and catastrophes. No more nuclear winter, just endless noontime stopped. Me licking tartar sauce from your skin as if you were the dialectic itself. Herbert Marcuse or my fantasy version of him destroyed my ability to maintain a sane relation to the book-like objects surrounding us in the phenomenal world. Near me the Weltanschauung you French kissed. Near me our simultaneity of ass. Near me our cleft heft. Near me, your zoology-loving father, who long ago when we were in college together, showed me how certain extinct species fornicated in ways never mentioned in religious texts. Never to be more near me than when you are not near. Never to be more near you than when I am not near. Never to be more near you than when I am not near. So I will take questions. Yes. Wait, can you say that again? Yeah. What first drew me to the wig I purchased, or what drew me to wigs in general? Let me see. Well, I think that all men should be able to wear wigs, especially when they reach a certain age. And then, of course, there's the famous scene from Valley of the Dolls. And then there's Andy Warhol wearing his mother on his head. Andy wearing his mother on his head. And then I would also add that the wig that I chose was distinguished by its price, $35. And by the fact that it, to my mind, made me look a little bit plausibly like somebody in a band sometime in the last 60 years. Yes. What do you think of toupees? I once wrote a book about Liberace. I think that he wore a toupee. So obviously I think they're okay. But there's a lot of shame surrounding wigs. So I don't mean to make light of the shame that's often contained within the wig. And as Angel says in my movie, near me your fear of stigma. So a toupee is always near me too. Oh, Angelo, do I dare? Yes, I'm going to. This is your turn. That's okay. Let me think. The great thing about thought experiments is that they are, thank God, fiction. And even though Joyce Carol Oates often draws on her life and her traumas and her knowledge of working class life in upstate New York to write her novels, they are fiction. Just like that fire. Anne Carson, you understand that the Trojan War had everything to do with the reality of war. So, I guess I'm saying that though Anne Carson's life appears throughout her work, such as in The Glass Essay, fiction applies to her work as well as the Greek tragedies that gave her grief lessons. So, Angelo, I love your thought experiment, but I will take the fire as not what Brunhilde lay on when Daddy built the pyre. Leanne Brown, star-studded question panel. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Leanne Brown. I should say that I remember you singing here at a reading, at many readings actually, and that was one of the sound of your beautiful, clear soprano with poetry was one of the inspiring impetuses, like David Anton, for thinking that this would be a great home for poesy with music, logopoeia and melopoeia. So, sometimes I try to write about real subjects in the external world, but then as I'm writing, I suddenly am flooded with the memory of a dream, and when the dream opens its arms to me, I must tell you, it wears the mask of absolute clairvoyance and truth, and it would be an ethical wrong to turn my back on the knock on thought's door that the dream sounds. So therefore, I have the habit, perhaps not always popular, of bringing up my dreams whenever they occur. For example, I won't tell you about last night's dream because it involves somebody of the psychoanalytic persuasion, and that becomes rather tautological or something like that if the figure in the dream is part of a discourse that authorizes dreams. Isn't that chicken-egg dilemma? And yet, like all my dreams, there was a major sexual complication in the dream. One of those eruptions of the impermissible that I bring up all the time, acting like I'm a veteran of these scenes when really I'm just, well, perhaps I am a veteran, but I'm more often a dream witness to them. And I do feel, for example, when I have a dream like that Liza Minnelli dream, and oh Lord, the number of Liza Minnelli dreams I've had. So when I have one of those dreams that is gravid with, I want to say gravid with indexicality. It doesn't have a bit of indexicality in it. It has, all I can say is truth. And what I mean, fellow writers and artists, because that's who you are in the audience, that you do get in the habit. You're adults. You get in the habit as an artist or a writer or a maker of something errant. You get in the habit of listening to impulses that seem like the true ones and trying to ignore the impulses that seem too market-driven, too inauthentic, too received, too been there, done that, too compromised. And when you get an impulse that seems to arise from the chthonic void, you get familiar with heeding its nocturnal call. Maybe one more question or two more questions? Yes. Hi, Michael. That's you, Michael, right, with hat. Michael Portnoy, welcome to the Poetry Project.
So if you were to write a book like Raymond Roussel's How I Wrote Certain of My Books,
Yeah.
his book was called A Microanalysis of My Verbal Improvisational Techniques. How would you begin this book?
If I were to begin a book like Roussel's book that anatomizes his ways of generating his texts, applied to my own.
Verbal improvisation.
Okay, let me think. I'm aware that I'm treating the stage stuff up here as a major obstacle course, which I think it actually is, rather than that there's like a really chic, effortless way to wind through this maze. Getting a little sleepy, friends? I think, Michael, what I would say, what I pause because Raymond Roussel, because I don't know Raymond Roussel's work as well as I wish I did, and he is sacred among people that I hold sacred and held sacred like John Ashbery. So to not thoroughly know the work of Raymond Roussel in these precincts is a major faux pas. Well, Violetta wanted to drink Libiam, but I guess in my mature or late phase, which is now, I listen for, as I've said before, I listen to the unbidden, the unrehearsed, the repeatedly arising, and I listen to the space that happens after endless self-canceling rehearsal. Endless treadmill. Endless, diligent preparation. And then after that state of torpor induced by repetition, there's an oasis. And the art of everything, I think, is catching the oasis when it arrives. And I'm not saying moralistically you have to work really hard and then you'll get a little payoff in the form of a good moment. No, I just mean there actually is an experience of release and of disinhibition and of the arrival of anterior riches. And the anterior riches that I'm talking about are languages. So the way I work when I can is be as diligent and regular and daily as possible at everything, and then listen to the lethargy and listen to when thought and intention momentarily stop. And then you discover something that you didn't know you knew, like whether it's a cultural good like Frühling's Nacht hospice hair. I was happy I found those words because they're all sacred to me. And so I don't mean to go me all the time, and this as if like that I am the center of, I happen to be on stage, so I'm the one pontificating. But what I would say, Michael Portnoy, is that I work very diligently at a few arts, exercising iteration, detour, iteration, mistake, iteration, strangeness, and the strangeness more often, because words are my primary medium, happens in the sound of a word. For example, the word Fremde, which in German means stranger. In it, and now I'm channeling an essay I wrote, I admit, called Do You Want to Touch It? I'm cheating. Fremde contains Frida Kahlo and some dead relative of mine named Frida. I don't know who, but she really was named Frida. And Fremde also conjures the place where the friend and the stranger rub up against each other. I don't know if that was clear. Pardon its turgidity and length. One more question.
Could you speak about the color green? Figures heavily tonight.
Green is my least favorite color. It draws attention to my flaws. I never wear green except this suit and the wig. But the great thing about colors and the marriages of different colors is that I've grown to love green because of its friendship with yellow. Yellow, and you can push yellow against its nature, and then suddenly it pops out as green. And you can domesticate green and make it blue. And you can put orange next to green, and orange becomes more lovely than you thought anything could ever be. So I would say, in defense of green, that it, as a trickster, lives near the universal treasures of blue and yellow. and green, you're the abject. But I bought a green wig because I thought I would green screen it out of existence. But then a little bit of narcissism kicked in, and I kind of liked the way I looked in green wig. I may wear it to class. And because it's been an hour and 3 minutes, I will say goodnight. But anytime somebody wants to give me a little dough to do this again, be very happy to do it. And even since I'm not market driven, not even any dough, just imaginary dough. The dough of love and compliments. The dough of flattery and giving me the illusion that maybe my career is rising like the phoenix. Thank you. Lovely people, all of you. I'm seeing many beloved faces. I won't make a litany of them, but there are many beloved people here. So thank you for schlepping out on Friday the 13th. Some of you I haven't seen in a long time. And so it's really great. Thank you. Have more wine.